You're watching South Asian Newsline and here are the top stories we are tracking for you on Thursday, the 19th of September. PM Modi promises to eradicate terrorism, provide jobs to poll-bound Kashmir. Presidential candidates wrap up campaigning ahead of polls in Sri Lanka. And Nepal marks 9th year of promulgation of constitution. All the details. Amid tight security, a huge crowd gathered in Srinagar, city of India's Jammu and Kashmir, as Prime Minister Narendra Modi held an election rally ahead of the second phase of polls in the region. In his speech, PM Modi lauded what he termed the new Kashmir and underscored the region's strides towards peace and development. He termed the voting in the first phase as a milestone for democracy and said Jammu and Kashmir will again become a state and the BJP will fulfill this promise. He said the Kashmiri people have full faith in Modi's guarantee of a safe and prosperous Jammu and Kashmir. He promised to liberate Kashmir from terrorism and to provide employment opportunities to the youth. Reflecting on past political challenges, Modi criticized the dominance of three families, the Congress, National Conference and the People's Democratic Party, accusing them of creating obstacles for the region. He highlighted that a robust mandate for the BJP would facilitate further stability and development in Kashmir.
जम्मू कश्मीर को टेरर से, दहशतगर्दी से आजाद कराना, जम्मू कश्मीर के खिलाफ साजिश करने वाली हर ताकत को हराना, यहां के नौजवानों को यहीं पर रोजगार के मौके दिलाना, ये मोदी का इरादा है, मोदी का वादा है.
Moving on. India's cabinet has accepted a recommendation of high-level committee constituted for exploring the idea of one nation, one election, which will pave the way to hold simultaneous election to state assemblies and the national parliament. In a press briefing on Wednesday, Information Minister Ashwini Vaishnav informed about the development and said the report submitted by the committee headed by former President Ram Kovind has proposed implementation of one nation, one election in two phases. In the first phase, the Parliament and Legislative Assembly elections will be held simultaneously, while in the second phase, elections to the local bodies like panchayats and municipalities will be conducted within 100 days of general elections. In a post on X, Prime Minister Narendra Modi called the move as an important step towards making Indian democracy more vibrant and participative. However, main opposition Congress has called the initiative as impractical and incompatible with democracy. Several other opposition parties have also voiced their criticism, calling it against the federal structure. Notably, simultaneous election used to be the norm in India between 1951 and 1967. However, the cycle was disrupted decades ago, resulting in the current staggered system with sees on average 5 or 6 state polls being held either at the same time or separately every year.
High-level committee recommendations on one nation, one election, on simultaneous elections, those recommendations have been accepted today by the Union Cabinet.
We will start the discussions across the country, various forums. We'll request constitutional experts, we'll request the academia, we'll request citizen groups, we'll request everybody to start discussing this, and then we will create consensus around it, then we'll bring the necessary law.
ये लोगों को डायरेक्टली मिलने का किया, लेकिन आज बीजेपी की सरकार जनता को डायरेक्टली मिलती नहीं, वो सिर्फ दूरदर्शन करती है और सेलेक्टेड चंद 10-20 लोगों में मोदी जी ठहरते हैं, बेटा तुम क्या कर रहे हो, कहां से हो, वही उतना फोटो आप देखेंगे.
And after designated Khalistani terrorist Gurpatwant Singh Pannu filed a civil lawsuit in the US Federal District Court against the Indian government over alleged attempt of assassination on him, India's Foreign Secretary Wickremesinghe has condemned the remarks and called them unwarranted and unsubstantial imputations. Misri emphasized that despite filing a complaint, it does not alter the fact that Pannun represents an unlawful organization and has been involved in anti-national and subversive activities. The lawsuit has been filed against National Security Advisor Ajit Doval and main accused Nikhil Gupta. Pannun, who holds dual citizenship in the US and Canada, is pursuing financial compensation for assault, including the attempt on his life, and for severe emotional distress, claiming his life continues to be in danger. New Delhi has expressed concern about the linkage and disassociated itself from the plot, saying it would formally investigate the concerns of the United States and take necessary follow-up action on the findings. Moving on. A prominent activist from Gilgit Baltistan has highlighted the stark contrast between democratic elections in India's Jammu and Kashmir and Pakistan's sham electoral processes in territories under its legal occupation. A report.
Senghe Sering, a prominent activist from POGB, has highlighted the stark contrast between India's democratic elections in Jammu and Kashmir and the sham electoral processes conducted by Pakistan in its occupied regions of Gilgit Baltistan and POJK. Sering emphasized that India's constitutional framework guarantees equal rights and opportunities to all citizens. He said the ongoing elections in Kashmir have demonstrated the strong support and participation of the local population, reflecting their hope for a brighter future under Indian rule. Sering said, in contrast, Pakistan's occupation of POJK and Gilgit Baltistan has been characterized by human rights abuses, suppression of dissent, and the exploitation of natural resources. The elections held in the region are merely a facade to legitimize Pakistan's illegal control and serve its own interests, he said.
When they hold elections in Gilgit, when they hold elections in Muzaffarabad, they do not really serve the interests of the local people. It is a hand of the Pakistani military, a political hand of the Pakistani military extended into these occupied areas only to allow Pakistani military loot the local natural resources and benefit from the transit routes to China. On the other hand, when India holds election, these elections are held under a constitutional framework.
Sering also warned about the growing threat of terrorism emanating from Pakistan and accused that Islamabad has continued to use terror groups as proxies. He said this poses a significant security challenge to India and the region as a whole.
But the truth is, Pakistan never stopped using POJK as a launchpad, as a training center, as a hideout for the terrorists. It never dismantled the infrastructure that is required to promote terrorism and export to India. In Jammu and Kashmir, now we have new angle to the terrorism. For instance, the Khalistanis. If you look at the international community, they're really concerned that the Khalistanis and these Kashmiri terrorists, and they're coming together and they're creating bigger trouble for India.
The activist further called upon the international community to pressurize Pakistan to end its support for terrorism, respecting human rights, and address the economic crisis. He also urged the international community to recognize India's legitimate sovereignty over Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh.
2 days ahead of the presidential elections in Sri Lanka, the candidates have wrapped up their campaigning. Current President Ranil Wickremesinghe told supporters on Wednesday that Sri Lanka's economy could have sunk were it not for his leadership. Meanwhile, opposition leader Sajith Premadasa claimed that he is in the winning party with Wickremesinghe and left-wing candidate Anura Kumara Dissanayake well below his numbers. Over 17 million Sri Lankans will vote, seeking a leader who can address corruption and revitalize the economy as the country faces its worst financial crisis in more than 7 decades. The economic collapse, blamed largely on former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, was triggered by a sharp decline in foreign exchange reserves, which crippled imports of essentials and ignited protest that led to his ousting. Wickremesinghe, who was later elected by the parliament, has overseen a fragile recovery supported by a $2.9 billion IMF bailout and a $25 billion debt restructuring plan. However, recovery has come at the cost of economic hardship, fueling demands of political change.
ටයිටැනික් එක වාගේ ගිලෙන්න ඉඩ තිබුණා. වතුර ඇවිල්ලා තිබුණා. විදුලි බලය නැහැ. කපිතාංකරෙක් නැහැ. ඒ නැව මම බාරගත්තේ. ඒත් මං හැම වෙලෙම තීරණය කරා මේක මම අතහරින්නේ නැහැ. මම මේක මට බාර දුන්න වැඩසටහන මං අවසන් කරනවා කියලා.
බුද්ධි අංශ වාර්තා අනුව අපි අනිවාර්යෙන්ම ලක්ෂ 20ක වැඩි ඡන්ද ප්‍රමාණයකින් ජයග්‍රහණය කරනවා. මගේ කකුලෙන් අදින දේශපාලන ජෝඩුව රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ අනුර කුමාර දිසානායක හොඳටම පහලින් ඉන්නේ.
The interim government in Bangladesh, led by Mohammad Yunus, has given the power of executive magistrate to the commissioned officers of the Bangladesh Army in order to improve law and order. Reports have suggested the eligible army officers will be able to act as executive magistrates under the supervision of district magistrates nationwide for the next 60 days. Following the nationwide clashes related to the quota reform movement, the then PM Sheikh Hasina-led government had deployed the army and imposed a curfew across Bangladesh on July 19th. Subsequently, on 5th of August, Hasina's government was overthrown by a student-led uprising. 3 days later, on August 8, an interim government was formed with Nobel laureate economist Mohammad Yunus as its chief advisor. The army has, however, remained deployed to maintain law and order as the police and other security agencies were not in a position to do so. Nepal on Thursday held a military and cultural parade as it observed the 9th Constitution Day of the Himalayan nation. Leading the nation in the celebration of the National Day, President Ram Chandra Paudel took the salute at the Army Pavilion in Tundikhel as Nepal Army, Nepal Police and the Armed Police Force marched past. In his address, Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli stressed that the Constitution should be amended to make it lively and match with the changing time course. He added, the political instability in the country can only be solved through these amendments. Remarks from Oli come at a time when the Madhesh-based parties are protesting against Constitution and have demanded amendments while announcing that they won't celebrate the Constitution Day.
संविधानलाई समयानुकूल बनाउनुपर्छ. समयानुकूल बनाउने भनेको अनुकूल नभएका प्रावधान हटाउने वा परिमार्जन गर्ने हो. मेरो विचारमा संविधानको संशोधन भनेको लिखत र मर्म लेटर एन्ड स्पिरिट अनुसार नभएका वा बाधा पुगेको ठाउँमा परिवर्तन गर्नु हो. विद्यमान संविधानका अमिल्दा पक्षमाथि संशोधन गर्नु हो.
The Constitution of the Federal Democratic Republic of Nepal was promulgated on September 20 in 2015 by the Constituent Assembly as an achievement of Nepali people's 7-decade-long struggle, sacrifices and popular movements. The government celebrates the day as a national holiday every year. That's all in tonight's edition. We will see you same time tomorrow.